The first thing we got to understand about Babylon is that Babylon is blasphemous. The word blasphemy doesn't, I know we've kind of made it to use the name of God in vain, but the word blasphemy in the Greek is the word blasphemia, is where we get the word blasphemos from. It means to switch. Oh dear God, help me. It means to switch. Now look at this. The word blasphemy comes from two words, blasphemy. Blax means sluggish or slow. Femi means to tell the difference. Now look at this. Put the two words together and it means slow to discern or slow to call something good that is really good. It means that you identify good things as bad and bad things as good. That's why blasphemos means to switch. The enemy, Babylon, its first prerogative is blasphemos. It means that people will call good evil and evil good. This is why Isaiah chapter 5 verse 20 says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweetness for bitterness. So this is what God is saying here. If we understand that Babylon is a political religious structure, if we understand that Babylon is in defiance and rebellion to God, then we will make the wrongful assumption that Babylon is evil. Babylon is the symbiosis or the syncretism of good and evil to the point that you cannot trace the evil. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying today. Babylon is policies. Look what it says. The kings of the earth have been drunk with her. Jesus. This is international, global policies set by leaders that exchange evil for good and good for evil. In fact, she is called the mother of all harlots. You must understand, is it possible today? Is it possible that every king in the earth, even though they have the different languages, they found a way to all read from the same literature? I wish I could get a witness. Why is it that every nation's policies are the same? Why is it that in most of the nations of the world we have abortion? Why is it in most of the nations of the world we're pushing for LGBTQ rights? Why is it in most of the nations of the world we're pushing for transgenderism? Why is it? Because Satan knows that the only way to reunify a divided language is to create a new literature and interpret the literature in the languages of those countries. This is why it says, find me young men, find me good-looking people who I can teach the language and the literature of the Babylonians. Why? Because if Satan can indoctrinate our kids in university with his literature, and we got people learning stuff in literature in universities today, it's not education. You're not being educated, you're being indoctrinated. You're learning literature that is diametrically opposed to God. You are learning a theology of Babylon. Your kids are being educated away from you. Do you know in our world right now there's a switch? What is the switch? The switch happens so quick. It's blasphemous. It's like Satan is a con artist. He'll pull it over and you won't even see. He switched it. He switched it. You see, and the church is capitulating. Oh, tell me, how is the church capitulating? You have to understand. He says, I'll put the goats on the left and the sheep on the right. And the goats was like, why are we here? He said, well, what did we do? He said, well, when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. Well, hang on a second, God. What are you talking about? When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. And when I was thirsty, you didn't give me a drink. Hang on a second. God, what are you talking about? You have to understand you are not going to be judged for what you did. You're going to be judged for what you didn't do. Oh, dear God. Tolerating is not celebrating. It is capitulating. The church is going to be judged for tolerance. There are two policies in the earth, two major policies, life and death. And the danger of our time is that the enemy has dressed death like life and life like death. The second heavens had a consortium with their devils and said, instead of calling it pro-death, what can we call it? Hey, marketing specialist Beelzebub, what do you say? He says, well, why don't we call it pro-choice? That's good. Let's change that. Write that down. Get that into the Congress. Change that word, pro-death, to pro-choice. Instead of calling it infanticide, let's call it abortion. Sounds humane, doesn't it? Abortion. Yeah, like that. Write that one down. To make this blasphemy run throughout the earth. And even the church will agree with it.